Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Vobes Show tonight. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me. Slightly different today, and apologies for no opening theme or anything like that. First of all, oh, that's my phone telling me that we are actually live, which is fantastic. Now, you might think, hang on a minute, Vobes, you're not in the studio. And it's true. I am in the studio, but I'm not in my usual place. Because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have two extra people in the vast studio that is the Vobosphere. So we're going to say hello to you and all of that in a minute. But first I want to introduce everybody to the show. And now I've got to get these buttons in the right... Oh, there we go. Now, with any luck, if I press that button... That didn't work. Why is that not working? Oh, hang on. If I do that... Oh, wait a minute. No. If I do that... Wait, don't panic, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's panicking?
I'm panicking.
Don't panic.
All right, let's try. Well, it worked a second ago. We had it. We had it. I've got the webcam. Why isn't the webcam working now?
Intriguing.
Oh, I pressed a... Oh, there we go. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, there we are. It worked. So many buttons. So here is the lovely Julia and Mr. Suggett. You're over there. So you can see that we are socially distant apart. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear us all? That's the question we want to know. So, Richard, say a few words.
A few words.
Oh, marvellous. Thank you. I thought you could be a bit more inventive. And Julia?
A few more.
A few more words. Great. Do let us know. So now, not only have we got the webcam right at the back, which does sort of keep us very far away from you. And I'm hoping now if I press that button, yeah, there we are. We come back to me. I've got this new gadget, and many people of you have donated towards it. It's the ATM Mini Pro, which is operating this. Now, normally I'd have a little camera I could show you the gadget. I'm not going to touch it because it might blow it up. But with me, we have the lovely Julia. Hello, Julia.
Hello.
And we have Mr. Suggett. And we're all on different cameras so that we can be socially distanced and safe. This is most ridiculous. So anyway, Julia, can you tell us who is there?
We have lovely Jeff Kellison, Ron Langley, Ed Loud, Mark Donny McLeod, Ed Ovett, Ernie the Milkman, Mike Dixon, Andrew Norris 2, Glenn Johnson. Any names? Oh, Judith. Hello, Judith. Mike Stevens, Nigel Sadler, and that's all I can see on that little stretch of chat box.
Oh, do I need to lower it, or is it doing its own thing? I can't remember.
I think it is lowering.
It's doing it. Yeah, it's doing
We've
it.
got Roy Ballinger and anybody else? Oh, Elaine Whitelock, Steve. Is it G? Peter Lowry, Michael Angel, Turbo Stream, Rose Brooker, Mandy of Merrimack, Rick M.
Excellent.
And that's everyone.
Excellent. Well, welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to have you all here. Now, tonight's show, the reason we've got three of us in, we started this conversation on Monday about where our food comes from, trying to grow our own food. And I want to continue that conversation a bit more. We have got a couple of videos to ease our way through this, and we do want your comments as well. So it is still about heritage, landscape and nature, although the Vobes Show is normally sort of a bit of a funny thing. But Mr. Suggett is with us. Hello, Mr. Suggett. I've got to remember you're on number 2.
Number 2. I'm number 2.
Number 2. Now, Richard, you grow your own stuff, your own veg, and you've been doing this for a long time, of course. And I know that you've been... Oh, I pressed number 4. Number 4 doesn't have a camera on it.
Contestant number 4. Oh, wait, where are they?
There. Yeah, I know that you've been furloughed, and because you've been furloughed, you've had a lot more time working on the allotment. So what I want to know is, how has that been, having the extra time to dedicate to your Veg Grower podcast channel?
Interesting, I think, is the word I would use. It's been actually quite exhausting, because all I've done is go either in my allotment or my garden. So I've not had any change of scenery. Now, for my normal day job, I'm in a million different places all the time. So it's very out of the unusual for me. But in terms of being able to grow stuff, it's been a challenging year anyway, weather-wise. So it's not been the best year for growing your own food.
But we've had a lot of sunshine at the beginning, and the beginning of the year we had a lot of rain, we had a lot of sunshine, and crops on the farms. When I go out walking, and I go obviously with the lovely Julia, when we go out walking, we see a sort of abundance of stuff. So why is it not so good from your point of view?
Well, basically, when you're trying to grow your own, you're putting all your crops in normally sort of April, May, June time, and that's when we're having all that heat. And because those plants are so small, they're after the water at the top of the ground instead of what's further down.
Right.
And because it's so dry, those crops aren't getting established. Now, farmers, they've spent a fortune on irrigation systems to make it easier for them, and they've stored all that water over the winter to use, and they can use it, but on a very expensive way to do because of the amount of land they have.
And Julia, we have had a look at your allotment recently, and I know with the birth of Joseph, of course, you've taken your eye off the ball, because having a baby is a full-time job, and there's nobody else in your family who has time or the inclination to sort of get on with looking after the allotment. So it wasn't a bit of a state, wasn't it?
Yes, it was at that. I mean, I've got so much that I want to do with it, but partly it's the motivation. I'm so knackered after dealing with both the children. It's no excuse. It really shouldn't be. But I mean, there is so much potential for it. But there's so much I need to do now. I need to replenish all the muck that's in there. And I just need to get growing. It's just, getting that initial kick started. I know I've had lots of help to get kick started, but
Well, I've had this sort of strange epiphany now, and we spoke a little bit about this, and I got a bit aerated. I don't know what the word is.
Ranty.
That'll do.
Ranty on Monday show, because it was all sort of coming ahead, and I wanted desperately to get these ideas out. For me, I find the best way to think is by speaking, because I think when you speak, and people who listen to my Naked Englishman podcast will know that when you speak, you're having to get the thoughts that are in your head into some form of communication that makes sense, because often they're like, jumbled pictures, ideas, and I don't know what they are when they're in your head, but when you have to get them down, either written down or in a vocal form, so that they come out clearer. And I found that I had to do that, and Monday's show was a time when I could get a little bit ranty. Was I too ranty, Julia?
Well, you know what? Sometimes I get a bit ooh when you go into your rant mode, but I really enjoyed that one. You didn't just stick on the one thing the whole time. It's fairly smoothly
It developed
moved from
a bit.
subject to subject.
Yeah.
It evolved, so it wasn't too bad.
Now, I had a phone call with this man, Mr. Suggett, before that show, ladies and gentlemen, and the thing about that is I knew that selling my dad's house would allow me a little bit of money. Not a huge amount of money. I've got to share it with my sister, and we've got other bills that we've got to be paid off. But there'd be enough money to buy some land if I could find it. A couple of acres is what I imagine. I was trying to ask Richard, first of all, how big is a couple of acres?
It's about the size of 10 of my allotment plots.
10 allotment plots?
10, roughly, give or take.
Right. So a couple of acres would be quite sufficient to grow quite a bit, because you grow quite a bit, but also to have things like an area of wildlife, wild flowers. A dew pond is something that I would like to have on there, possibly some pigs, and of course an area to grow sufficient quantity for me and friends and maybe others.
Yeah, an acre or two would be probably more than enough to do what you want to do, especially if you want to have, I would encourage you to have honeybees as well, so you can get honey going. Chickens for eggs. It goes with your bacon in your Essie.
Yeah.
1,000,001 other things that, on a small scale. Now, you're not going to do this to try and make a fortune out of it.
No, but it's more about trying to get food that is full of nutrients, full of the minerals that our bodies need, and to avoid things like dementia. My father had dementia. My mother had a form of dementia brought on by her alcoholism. But there's all the things like diabetes, there's cancers, there's various cardiac pressures. And I just want to find that I can eat real food that will help mitigate as much as possible all those things. Because the book I've been reading that I was talking about was just saying that because of modern farming practices, we are not putting into our bodies sufficient minerals and nutrients to fight off the things that are there to attack us.
This is kind of what I was trying to say when we first started recording the Julia's Kitchen Garden series. We've still only done, what, 3 of them, I think?
It's up 4, I think.
4? 4, have we?
4, yeah.
4, okay.
I think there's 4.
We need to work on that. We need to do some more. But where was it going? Oh, yes. Wanting to know exactly what's going into that food, because I've known for a long time, without having the words, without having an academic degree to in agriculture or permaculture or any of that, it's always been a concern of mine, knowing what's actually been put in, what your food has put into itself, rather, from the ground. Because, monoculture tends to looks sterile, doesn't it?
Yes.
And, so it always felt like the food we were eating wasn't necessarily...
Well, I think a lot of that, it goes to the fact that the farmers, and I was having a conversation with Richard, are desperately trying to make a profit. And so they're maximising the land by planting huge swathes of one crop. But they're having to then use all sorts of artificial aids to try and get that crop.
That's right, because it's just not sustainable. It's just not, the whole thing with permaculture, I'm sure Richard Suggett will back me up on that, but the whole thing with permaculture is that it is sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You're permanently cultivating the land. You're not just farming it to within an inch of its existence, which we pretty much are. What was it, 60 or 50 harvests left?
Yeah, I think
Or
something
80,
like 50
something
or
like
60
that.
harvests,
Less
they
than
say.
that.
That's what some scientists say, but other scientists say different. It's a case of who do you believe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
we've got to remember with farmers' lands as well, not all the soils are right for specific crops, so we can't necessarily have a right go at the farmers for just growing the crops that do well on that land.
Absolutely not, no.
No, and it's interesting because Lee Dallon, the farmer who I interviewed, and we will get to your comments in a moment, by the way, the farmer was pointing to the crops, the spring barley on the downs, and saying, well, it's a thin soil and spring barley grows very well up there. And that may be true. It's just that 80 years ago, there were no crops on the downs because the downs were sacrosanct. The downs was a wild place, and it was for sheep. That was the farming that went on there, was sheep. You didn't cut up all that lovely wildlife and stuff. But they have, and we're never going to get rid of that, unfortunately.
No, but the best we can do is, like you say, not all plants are suitable for every landscape, but every landscape has its natural flora and fauna. So, that's what we need to latch onto, I think.
Well, not only that, on a small scale, such as an acre, you can make those soils right for a wider range of crop. Rather than trying to do it over 100 acres, it's not financially viable for that. On a smaller scale, you can grow more.
Yeah. No. Well, that's interesting. Let's go and have a look at. We'll have a look at the comments, and then we'll play a video in. We've got a couple of videos, so we'll play a couple of those. So, Julia, I know you've been chatting as well. It's very difficult to look at the comments at the same time.
Keep a tab on the comments. Ed Loud actually says Julia needs a monkey plantation to do her gardening, like that one in Colorado. Richard S knows what I mean. I have no idea.
He may call in. I will find out if he calls in.
I see. Planting monkeys, says Mike Stevens. Ron Langley says, hello, Kevin. Went to Midhurst yesterday, got caught in the traffic there. What's going on? Oh, yeah, that's the problem we're having now. Getting back to normal levels. Except it's not normal levels of traffic, is it?
No. Shall I scroll up and see if there's any other?
Let's see if we can catch any others.
I did see one comment that I thought was quite interesting. I think it was Graham who asked for you, Richard, why don't you get an allotment first?
Well, You see,
I
now,
keep offering mine up.
I did have this. Richard did say this, and also he said, "Why don't you just utilize the space in your garden?" I am an all or nothing man. People kind of
we know that, don't we?
Yeah.
You know that. Yeah, I'll either get. You see, when I went to mime school, my mime teacher just he read me. Or I read him, or there was something. I went to mime school for nearly a year.
You did you?
I did, yeah.
Sorry.
And his thing was all or nothing, to be or not to be, saint or sinner, priest or prostitute. These were the things that he used to say.
Bit drastic.
But they were,
Don't wanna be either.
it was black or white. You are or you're not. And so to me, it's like, I don't want to pussyfoot, no disrespect, with an allotment, because an allotment has rules and regulations. One of the things that upset me was the fact that Richard used to have on his allotment a barbecue.
Yeah.
And you could barbecue quite happily, and you could grow, and part of the point of growing your stuff, especially with your podcast, is that you're showing what you do with the food that you've grown. You're going to put it in your mouth. It's not just, here's some food I've grown. Right, now next. It's not Blue Peter, is it? So, so rules and regulations, I'm not somebody who likes that. And I want to be able to have that space to have a small hay meadow, some traditional mixed farming where I can, if it's possible on my land, if I've got crops on there, to hire in some sheep to nibble it and poo on it and do old-fashioned manuring. I would love that. And wouldn't that be interesting to film? And so part of it would be my YouTube channel would be devoted to that and get people interested in the adventure that I'm doing. So that's the answer to that one, Richard.
Stepping on my toes there.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go. You see, I would make it different from the allotment.
Yeah.
Because this would be the again, it would be the story of the life and the challenge. I expect to fall flat on my face, both physically and whatever the other one is,
mentally,
metaphorically, to have issues and problems. I know it won't be easy, but there's the director in me, the producer, the filmmaker in me says it's a story, it's an adventure. It'd be worth, people would be I think people would be interested. I'm sure there's lots of other people doing it, so it may not be as interesting as I think.
Oh, there's loads you can do with it though. I mean, I've this fantasy in my head. I'd have exactly what you're wanting. Just some land. I could have woodland that I don't touch, that is sacred, that is just left to do as its own wild thing. With the decay and the whole part of the nature. And I'd also have a food forest. So all the trees like hazel. Oak would be part of it as well, because you can eat oaks. You can eat acorn.
Acorns, yeah, acorn coffee.
That's it. And my brain's gone blank. There is so many other ones that you can use. I'm good at that, blank braining. Anyone?
You've really been reading up on permaculture, haven't you?
This and that, yeah.
Yeah, it shows, because your knowledge of this has really came through this evening. I've never heard you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Talk about it so much.
I have read into it a little bit. I did double check that it meant what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
So just for those that don't know, like me, I know what monoculture is. Permaculture. What's
permaculture?
That?
It's short for permanent agriculture, but it's shortened. But then it got shortened to permanent culture, and then permaculture. It's just the continuance of the culture of the ground.
Right.
And
right.
Not just like I say, not just farming it, but cultivating it to nurture it and get what you need out of it, and for it all to work, and also mimicking and taking inspiration from the natural processes and the ecological systems. And
it's kind of like I want to describe it as a hippie way to garden and grow your own food, which might cast it in a bad light, but actually it's got a lot of scientific proof behind it that it works.
Is yours? Do you use permaculture on yours?
In a way, yes. One of the tenets of permaculture is that whatever needs the most amount of attention, you have where you walk the most. So something like herbs, you have a by your back door because that's where you're going to cook with them.
Right.
Yeah,
Something-
go and pick them fresh and put
Pick
them
them
straight
fresh,
in the pot.
and you're going past it on a daily basis, so you can tend to that without too much effort. Something like potatoes that you don't need a huge amount of effort, or like the oak trees and hazel trees that you pot in and
So
forget
you'd
about.
put those further away.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it makes sense because it's down to how much labour you need to do as well, which is also sensible.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you just scroll down a little bit?
Oh,
on the-
scroll
on
down.
the
Yes,
chat
I beg
box
your
there?
pardon. There we go.
And keep an eye on what everyone's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
absolutely.
One of the other tenets with permaculture is that you put all that you don't use back into the system. So composting is quite a big thing, and to restore the soil, like what you're talking about, you need to compost stuff. You need
Right.
to add compost to
Yes.
the soil. The creator of permaculture, he took his system of permaculture to a desert, and he ended up producing food in this desert by using permaculture techniques.
Wow, that's really good. Okay, you're gonna look at the comments, lovely Julia.
Yep.
We're gonna play a video whilst you have time to absorb some of that. If I can get the videos, which camera are we on? If I can get the videos to work. So our first video. Hang on, I need to go into the video box now. Let's see if I can do this. Oh yes, here we go. We have this has been quite no signal. Yes, sorry about this. You can't see anything. Sorry about that. Richard McGowan. This is his video. Lots of wildflowers, which will relate to what we're talking about.
Turn the microphones up.
We are here. Hang on a minute, folks.
You changed one over there.
What was that about professionalism?
Oh yes. Somebody said who's editing this malarkey, and I can tell you, it is me. Which is why there's some cock-ups. I've realised just when we went on air, there's when it comes out of the video or before you go into the video, there's no feed, no camera feed. I know what to do. I just haven't had a chance to do it. So anyway, bear with us on that one.
That was a lovely video, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That was a very lovely video, by the way. Thank you for sending that in. So who did you say it was?
That was Richard McGowan.
Richard
actually.
McGowan, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. That was really nice, and it was so good to put the names of the flowers and the birds in that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good to
So
see.
Julia,
Really nice.
I'm just going to duck in front of your camera. Hang on, I can do that. Can I do that this way? Yeah, then the people can see what I'm doing, because I want to just put that knob into the right place.
The knob fiddling again.
Also, I should just say, we have got some food on the table here. You can probably just see it in this wide shot on the webcam there. This is something that Mr. Suggett brought in, and in about 15 minutes or so, we'll tackle it.
Yeah,
we'll find out what it is.
Lovely.
So, Julia, yes, you were saying about the comments.
Yes, Mark Donny McLeod said something interesting. Oh, yes, you could always be the first person in Sussex with an Earthship, Richard. Richard S. can explain. I can explain,
An
actually.
Earth what? An Earth what?
Earthship. I absolutely adore... I mean, come on, I'm a hippie at heart.
Right.
I absolutely adore the idea of an Earthship. That's kind of what I was talking about the other day, building it out of materials that are, freely available and existing, like...
But you're not.
Earthships in general.
A ship. It's not something that floats.
It's just called that. No,
right.
doesn't
Okay.
it?
So
No.
just describe. I mean, what is it? It's on land somewhere,
It
or
is.
in
It's
your
on
garden?
land. It's
or...
usually partially dug in, and to be almost like a hobbit hole. But there are lots of variations.
Hobbit
on it.
hole.
Yes. Sorry, you're not terribly Tolkien, are you?
No, but I know that. I mean, I read The Hobbit, but so what? It can't be underground.
Partially, yes.
Well,
Yes,
where does the
because
sun get
it's-
to the stuff? Then I don't understand.
An Earthship is a home. It's an eco home.
Right, for the
So-
plants.
No, for you.
To live in.
Oh,
the-
sorry. I was thinking that you're saying to put the allotment or the small holding underground. That's where I was.
That's interesting though, because you can also do underground gardens. It's not actually underground. It's dug in. It's like a large trench that you then have is it partially greenhoused?
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
The Victorians used to use them quite a lot, actually.
Yes. What's the official name for them? I can't remember.
I can't remember either off the top
Darn
of my
it.
head.
Could somebody Google it for me?
Yeah. I hate it when you get put on the spot like that.
I know. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Earthship, though, the idea I like of building the Earthship is basically, well, collecting like plastic bottles. So there's not actually much you can do with a lot of the plastics we use. I'm not sure about plastic bottles, but you can collect plastic bottles. You can shove other waste plastic inside them, like crisp packets and everything like that, and they become an insulator. You can make walls out of them. Anyway,
Richard's got a strange face on there.
That's my secondary.
That's very hippie, isn't it? That is
Yeah.
very
It
hippie.
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was my secondary part of it. What I really mean is you partially cut in to the ground in a hillside is what I've seen.
Right.
And you use tyres to build the walls around the back of and the sides, and you fill them with earth, and they naturally keep the internal part of the home cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
Okay. I think though I'm going to have enough problems just growing food, let alone everything. That might all come.
I know.
I might have to get you to come along and
could start with-
design it for me.
Yeah, you can start
later
with
on.
a tiny home first,
Yes.
a little.
I mean, obviously, I want to buy land, a couple of acres. If I can't build on it, which would probably be the cheapest and more affordable, is land that you can't build on and is basically nobody wants. I want to be able to at least put a caravan on it, even if it has to visit for a day or two, and sleep overnight for a couple of nights and then take it away, even if that's the limitation. But there's so many things to think about. Security of everything, especially if you're doing a YouTube channel, because everybody will know where you are, and so that's going to be a pain. Then there's the whole learning experience. But I think from an audience point of view, it'd be fascinating. Any other interesting comments, Julia?
Yes, Mike Stevens says we were taught about permafrost, but not permaculture in school. Edward Moulding says permaculture sounds like what our gardening teacher at West Tarring Second School taught us in the 1950s. That wouldn't surprise me, because I mean, even just that long ago,
Yes.
that relatively short period of time ago, things is so much different. I mean, we've just adapted and changed so quickly in the last 50, 60, 70 years.
And it's so, I mean, it's all of this is called progression, and it's I was saying to Richard that we've farmed for 12,000 years. You know, when the Neolithic people, when the hunter-gatherers decided to no longer hunt and gather, and they cleared some trees from the landscape, and they started to farm 12,000 years ago, and they learnt and they've learnt, and we've got better and got better and better and better, and we got to that point until the Second World War, where we had it. Mixed farming seemed to be a brilliant thing. Then in one person's lifetime, after 12,000 of perfecting it, we've almost wiped that out.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that, Richard?
Well, I actually think it was started in the Industrial Revolution, when machinery came along and started having to take away the labour force.
Right.
Nail on the head there, I think.
Yeah, and because machinery done it cheaper, faster, they could do more monoculture.
But I don't have an argument with machines doing the work. Nobody wants to go back to back-breaking long days. I agree that people have... I mean, the other thing is people have become less involved in the land as a result of the Industrial Revolution, and so labourers have gone, and people are less connected with what farming and growing really is, to the point that kids don't know what a chicken is, which is a ludicrous situation.
Or an oak tree. They'll call it an acorn tree. Or something.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm glad they know
exactly.
what an acorn is, to be honest.
But so yes, it may have, the roots of that may have started much earlier, but it accelerated with the Second World War. For the need to grow food, and then you've got tractors and modern day equipment, which really accelerated everything up.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, during the Dig for Victory campaign, every scrap of land was turned over to growing food. And the value that showed during that time of how important it was for us to grow food came into existence at that point. Unfortunately, afterwards, we've forgotten all about it.
And the thing is, people were connected then with what food was, even what food waste was, because they would take the scraps and put them in the pig bins at the end of the streets. And so that was an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about having been on rations, isn't it? It makes you grateful for any food you get, especially when you've not crafted, but cultured it with your own hands.
Well, you suddenly know how important food is to you, and the nutrition. And of course, during rationing, people had to, a lot of the nutrients weren't there, so they had to find different ways to improve the diet or make do. And actually, people seem to be a lot healthier. They certainly weren't eating so many sugary things.
It was the healthiest they were ever been in this country, was during World War II.
And there's the irony. Yeah.
There's another interesting comment there. Mark Donny McLeod says, "You're doing well there, Julia. The whole idea of the Earthship was a dwelling that would house you, feed you, and everything you have regenerates." Yes.
Brilliant. Well, I tell you what we'll do. We're going to put our second video on. Where am I? I'm over there. And then we're going to... Yes, thank you. Then we're going to have a look at this interesting food, and you can tell us what it is and how much of it you've grown, Richard, which will be great. So the next one is Mike Dixon. And he's been visiting, I think it's another National Trust property. Thank you so much, Mike, for sending them in, by the way. It may go black as we get over to your video, but I'm going to try and do an instant transition. So it should go something like this.
Hello, Vobesters. It's Mike Dixon. No Bella today. She's out with my wife, Helen. So a friend and I, Andrew, have come over to Nyman's. Managed to get a time slot ticket for the two of us. So I thought we'd come along. It's a bit of a cloudy, few spots of rain we've had, but it's actually very lovely to get up here. There's a route around the estate, but it's still very beautiful. You can see that things are getting a bit back to normal, as we can hear the busy A23 in the background, which is a bit of a shame. Just to say, it shows that things are getting back to kind of normal. And there are children, but it's very lovely down here, very lovely setting, beautiful trees, and There is a kind of mobile van selling teas, coffees, hot drinks. But anyway, I thought I'd just share it with you. It's very beautiful up here. Beautiful rhododendrons and various plants. Lots of birds, wildlife. Scenery is very beautiful. Anyway, I thought I'd just share it with you for a few minutes. Especially for the people who aren't able to get out so much. Yeah, very attractive. Well worth the visit and booking a slot online. Anyway, I shall pass you back to Richard. Okay, take care, keep safe, bye.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hang on.
Another fine video you sent in to us.
Another fine video. Thank you so much, Mike Dixon. There. Completely forgot. You can give us a call. Wait a minute. There we go. You can give us a call. Hello. The phones are live now. I say phones. The phone. 07934746790.
Lots of lovely compliments about the video. Glenn Johnson says, I love Nyman's. I built the lower path.
Did you, Glenn?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. There we go. Nyman's. Is that what it was? I wasn't concentrating too much, ladies and gentlemen, because I was pushing buttons and things. We're going to try some food in a minute. But if anyone would like to give us a call, that would be absolutely fantastic. We've all got headphones, and it would be nice to have a chat with somebody. Oh, there it is. There's the first call coming in. So we've got to pick up our headphones and see if anybody's there. Hello.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Tis I, Glastonbury.
I thought it was. I thought, now, can everybody... Is it too loud?
Yeah.
What number are you, Julia?
I don't know.
Oh, you're on that one. Sorry.
Oh, that's
Turn number one down as well.
Turn number one down. There we go. How about
There we
that?
go.
Could you say a few words for us, young fella, my lad, Gabriel?
A few words for us, young fella, my lad, Gabriel.
Ah, we love you, Gabriel.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent. Right. So, Gabriel, yes, you're through to the team, actually.
I know, what a wonderful programme. I'm really enjoying it.
We must do this more frequently.
We should, shouldn't we? Yes. Just a quick thing, really, regarding the food and the farming and techniques. I think nobody's really mentioned supermarkets in all this.
Ah, yes.
Supermarkets, in my opinion, have caused a lot of the farming methods we now see evidenced.
Yes.
Because they've created a culture where we expect food to be cheap. Food to be plentiful.
Yes.
And we need to change people's buying habits at the supermarket. That will then change the farming. I mean, farmers are absolutely crippled by the supermarkets now. They have to do what the supermarkets tell them. I mean, only now we're starting to get like wobbly beans. I mean, I always buy the wobbly stuff. I love the wobbly stuff. It's more like what you grow at home.
Yeah.
I don't want my bananas exactly in a straight line or whatever, cucumbers. It's ridiculous. We've got to change our buying habits. We've got to educate people before they go to the supermarket.
I mean,
that's a real hard one.
Therein lies part of the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's a vicious cycle. A lot of people can't afford to, to feed their families on locally grown stuff because, rightly so, these locally grown stuff cost a little bit more.
But I mean, I argue that where is the locally grown stuff these days? In the old days of mixed farming, there were several farms nearby and you could buy stuff. You could go to the farm gate, or there were more markets, and there were greengrocers, for goodness sake. Whatever happened to greengrocers?
Actually, I must say that my the corner shop 2 minutes from my house, they're actually quite good. They do use local producers to put in their little grocery section, which is lovely.
I'm going to interject, not so much on the side of supermarkets, but I'm not sure supermarkets are entirely to blame. It's our shopping habits.
Yeah.
And if we started buying or demanding supermarkets brought locally and they could see they were going to make money from it, they would probably do that more often.
What do you reckon, Gabriel?
Well, I'll come back with a couple of comments on that. Supermarkets supply what we require. They don't, they don't set the trend. So we do that, which is what I'm saying. We can change it. We created it because they're there to feed what we require, basically. And the other thing is that they're very cynical supermarkets. I mean, I'm sure you've been in that one not a million miles from where you're sat now. And you're seeing all these brands that look like they're made locally. They'll have like a Market Street, and they'll have so-and-so food company. And it's just one of their internal brands made to look like local suppliers. Yeah. So they know there's a demand there, and they pander to it, but they're not actually doing anything constructive about doing it. I mean, look at the farmers. The way they treat the dairy farmers. What do? They make you pay more for your milk and put it on there that you're paying more.
Yes.
But why do they do that?
I think...
aren't we feeling good? We're supporting the farmers. La, la, la. Well, let's just all pay a few p more for our milk and support the farmers completely.
Yeah, no.
Then that becomes the norm, and then those prices then come down naturally.
But I do think that the supermarkets have taken advantage of the situation because they are... Yes. They're the monopoly. Because they're, the greengrocers and other places, apart from your little corner shops where you can buy your milk and things like that, where do you go? And the thing is, now they've got the parking. You're going in, you're doing the big shop. You're sort of committed once you're in there. You may as well get everything. And people have been trained, I think now, especially with the COVID situation of not being able to go out, to actually buy more online and just go to one place and get all their stuff in one go. Yeah. In the old days, this might sound sexist, but in the old days, usually it was the wife that would go into town and have a bit of a day of going to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. And that was the way it was.
If I may interject briefly, Ed Loud says, Gabriel for President of Earth, please.
Absolutely.
Dubai Dozen says a half underground greenhouse is a wallopin. Is that what it says? Can you see that? Wallopin, according to Google. Thank you. I did see that pop up earlier and I forgot to mention it.
Is there any greengrocers in Glastonbury, Gabriel? No. I mean, that's a question for everybody.
We've got a very successful butcher who's...
Some butchers are hanging on, aren't they? Josephine Suter is a butcher's daughter.
I used to work in Suiters.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was at school, I used to work. I have a Saturday job in the one in Pulborough.
Oh, yeah. Is there? How many shops have they got?
Back then, I think they had a couple.
Right.
Maybe wrong, but I don't know.
Is Josephine out in the comments? It would be interesting.
I don't recall having seen her today.
Oh, it's a shame. Yeah, I mean, there are some. These what we just call them butchers. Butchers. But greengrocers are pretty much gone.
There she is. Hello,
right.
Hello, Josephine.
Hello, Josephine. How many shops have you got, Josephine? That's sorry.
I was waiting. As if she's on the phone. Sorry, Gabriel.
It's Gabriel who's on the phone.
No. It's all part of the show. But I go back to butchers. I mean, my local butcher. I mean, Steve. He can tell you which field the farm animal was in that you're about to eat.
Right.
The name of the animal. You've got a complete track back from field to fork with butchers now. That is not something evident in many of the food chains we have.
No, but in theory they're supposed to be able to trace, aren't they? They're supposed to be able to trace. Yeah. I mean, this is what Lee Dallin was saying to me, that he can trace his crops where they've got not an individual biscuit, but he can trace his crops to a certain degree. It takes a bit of time, but I think what you're saying there about the butchers. It's a much easier. Traceability. It's the fact that it's local. That's the thing. When you're eating something that hasn't had air miles or land miles, hasn't been put in a fridge for 6 months, isn't frozen and then brought out and pretended to be most recent meat and things like that. That's part of the lie that we've all been sold.
I mean, I'm no longer a meat eater. I gave up eating meat a few years ago on animal welfare-based grounds, but basically, people don't even know how to eat meat. sometimes you go into Morrison's or other supermarkets are available, and the meat, because it started to go brown, is really reduced. But hang on a minute, if you hang meat properly, it turns brown. It's not red.
Ah.
We've been sort of.
We look for the pinkest meat because
Force-fed
we
the
assume
wrong
it's
meat, yes.
fresher, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going up the M5. There's a lovely services just outside Gloucester. Do you know the ones on the M5? If you don't, you should visit. It's like a hobbit hole. It's built into a building that's got like a grass roof.
I know where you mean. I've come down the M5. Yes, my ex-partner Harriet loved it.
Yeah.
She said it's
Yeah,
you know
they
the
have
best.
a butcher's in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
behind the butcher's is a big window, probably, I don't know, 10 feet wide and 4 feet tall. And behind there you can see all the meat hanging, properly hanging. And that's in the motorway services.
I know, and that's the most freakiest thing. And I'm surprised that the success of that hasn't caught on with other ones. I mean, we must get to the point where people are waking up and going, actually, why do I put up with this?
That is a good question. Will they ever? I mean, don't get me onto that one because that's one of my favourite subjects. But I'm not going there now. But your average couch potato, I think you alluded to them on Monday night during your conversation.
But the thing is, we've made it so easy. People can go in and just get a TV dinner. If we made it a little bit more difficult for them, and they actually had to cook it, like going through COVID, people have been making bread, haven't they? And still bread in Morrison's when I go in there. To name one supermarket, others are available. I've seen bread right at the front of the store, and they can't sell it. It's 50p. Really, they're fresh bread, which is normally about £1. They've got too much of it because people are still making their own bread, and you can't buy bread flour. I'll tell you something about bread flour a bit later on. That's twigged in my brain. Anyway, Gabriel. You've raised.
I'm going to clear off.
No, yeah. You've raised some very good points. Thank you so much for calling in. What do you think of the setup now that we've got some extra cameras and stuff? Is it working?
Setup's wonderful. Mr. Sugden's wearing a pair of headphones, just like I've got on my head at the moment.
Can you plug a second?
That's great because you can turn the lead around and it works both ways. Small plug, big plug. I love them.
And you can plug a second pair of headphones in as well.
Yes,
can you? So that two people can listen to the same.
Daisy chain them.
Yeah, daisy chain. Yeah.
They're absolutely fabulous headphones. Absolutely fabulous headphones.
And they're good sound. They're good sound.
Absolutely brilliant.
I wish I had more.
Anyway, on that note.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabriel. Thank you for calling in.
My pleasure.
Lovely to hear from you
Great
again.
night, guys.
Yeah, take care.
Okay.
Take care.
Film on Friday, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.
Look forward to it. Bye. There we are, the lovely Gabriel. Thank you so much, young Gabriel, ringing in from Glastonbury. We can take the headphones off now.
Josephine Suter says,
Yes.
Richard, you worked for my dad.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Many years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And also she says there's one in Storrington and one in Pulborough.
Yeah.
Oh, right, one in Storrington. Which are you? Where am I? Which one? Which one are you in? Because I wanted to come in and buy some sausages. And would it be possible to come in and buy some sausages or some other chops or something from you and video it?
Again, waiting for a response.
I'll be very. Yes, of course, I'm waiting.
Josephine, would you like to call in and speak to us?
It would be great because that would. It would just be nice to. I wouldn't be saying anything critical about your sausages if I'm asking to do that, because that would be unfair to say. Can I come in? Oh yes, you can come in. Oh, these sausages are horrible. I wouldn't be saying it because I think it's interesting. I wanted to mention about the flour, the white flour, and I've been reading this book by Graham Harvey, and he says from his research and what have you that. After 1930, at the end of the windmills, in came roller mills. And roller mills came in because it was easier to grind flour on a roller. They were built near the ports. So if they were coming in from America, which was a great prairie land where they could build all this, they could grow all this wheat really cheap and ship it over. And they would get rid of the husk and they get rid of all the goodness because they just wanted the white part of the flour, which we still do. And white bread, again, would have nothing in it because the soil was being over-fertilised with artificial fertilizer, pesticides. The goodness wasn't in the flour, in the wheat to begin with. All the good bits that had the stuff in is taken out, and then all this cheap white bread is made that is of no good to anyone. I put that out there so that someone might respond. So my point being is I bought a great big bag of white flour, 16 kilograms, because I thought it would be easier to buy it. And now I'm realising what I should have done is bought the same but of more wholemeal flour, because it's the stuff you throw away. It seems to be the case in everything. The stuff you throw away is the good stuff. And, you know, we've just had this, white bread. It must be pure, but actually it's not as good for you as you think.
Andrew Norris says, and the flour is bleached.
And the
Right.
flour is bleached. There you go, Andrew Norris. Andrew Norris. He can't ring in because he's down in the village.
Well, you know what you're going to have to do then in order to use all that white flour?
Yeah.
You have to buy some more of the locally ground, stone ground
Exactly.
wheat, whole wheat.
Yeah, which is grown locally and ground locally, and go to somewhere like Oldham's. Here, look behind you, Oldlands Mill.
Oldland, yeah. Wasn't it Burton Mill as
and
well?
Burton Mill, and do exactly that. Richard, you have some food on the table for us.
I do, and I'm starving. So.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So tell us, what is it that you have brought into the studio?
I'll hand that one over to Julia. That one's yours, Richard, and the white one. So.
And you've got forks over there as well. Just so you know.
I'm keeping the forks.
Oh.
I'm
I'm going to call you Guy.
Which camera's
We're on the webcam.
Right. So what we've got here, we've got a cheese and onion quiche.
Oh, hang on. I got to cut to you.
Oh, okay. So, well, we've got a cheese and onion quiche.
Yeah.
And potato salad. Let me try and...
There
we go. Yeah, it's in a small bowl, so I've sort of squeezed it in there. It's not the most appetising looking thing at the moment. Now, potatoes, homegrown.
Yeah.
In with the potatoes, I've added some mayonnaise, which is out of a tin, dare I say it. I can make my own mayonnaise, but it's a bit risky. Seem a nice unshaven...
Sorry, the cameraman. So he's a YTS. He's on the old YTS scheme, if you remember that.
No idea what that means.
Youth training, wasn't it? YTS. Youth training
service.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
there you go.
I've added onions and some mustard, which is also homegrown.
Oh, fantastic!
And in the quiche, I've made the crust myself. Obviously, butter, flour, and a bit of water, which I didn't make. Eggs from my chickens, and the onions are also grown on my allotment. Now, I don't know how it's going to taste.
It smells lovely.
I haven't actually tried it. I just quickly cooked it this afternoon and got it together.
Thank you very much.
Now, potatoes I harvested a couple of days ago, so they're not as fresh as they could be, but they'll be fresher than what you can buy in a shop.
Fantastic. Well, this is fantastic.
Sorry, that's denim on a faux leather chair.
Oh, hang on. Now this is where I'm failing, because I can't vision mix and eat at the same time. So, what was it? Does it taste good, Richard?
Yeah, I think it tastes good. I've just had the potatoes. They taste good to me.
So, the only thing that you bought was the mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise, cheese,
and
flour, and
the
materials for the crust.
Fantastic. Well, I wish I had another video to put on whilst we eat this. We are accepting phone calls, of course. If you wish to call in, don't forget to give us a number on... give us a number. What about this number? 0793 4746 790. Give us a call and we'll tell you how lovely our food is.
That's
And
easy
you
for
can
you
listen
to
to us
say, isn't
munching.
it?
And we'll do some munching. And whilst you're eating, Julia, is there any interesting comments?
Nigel Sadler says too much gluten, artificially boosted to increase bulk. Graham Cass says cucumber sandwiches must be made with white bread. Okay. Oh, here we have a call. Mark Donny McLeod says just add a cup of white flour to the real flour, wheat flour with germ for healthy food.
We have a call. Hello, caller.
Hello, Richard.
Ed Loud. In the house.
Ed Loud's in the house. How are you, Ed?
Still loud.
Still loud. Marvellous. Well, we like to
Keep it loud, Ed.
keep it loud.
Oops,
My
sorry.
dad was allowed. My granddad was allowed. We're all allowed to do a lot of things.
Yes.
You're allowed to do a lot of things.
I'm actually quite keen to know what you're disallowed to do.
I wish I could remember.
So, what do you want?
Yeah, what do I want?
What do you want?
Just the thing about flour. Oh, don't get me started on flour.
No, all right.
Yeah,
know,
no, crack on.
I've had to be buying bread for about the last month now. It's been heartbreaking for me. I hate buying bread, to be honest. But normally I do make my own sourdough bread when I've got a kitchen to use.
Yeah.
And I was just going on about like wholemeal flour and bleached flour and all these things. I actually do notice a difference. If I use bleached flour in a sourdough starter, it's not half as active as it would be with unbleached flour. And that's because the bleaching agents are still in the flour in some form, I can only guess. And they are killing all the natural yeasts and the good bacteria in my starter. And quite often, in the past, I've sort of been experimenting with, I keep one good sourdough starter and I've been experimenting with others. And honestly, the activity in them drops by about 50% if I use bleached flour for a few days.
So here's a question for you. Sorry, I've got my mouth full. This is absolutely delicious, Richard, by the way.
Nom, 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 nom.
When Julia and I went to Oldlands Mill, the flour which is just behind you, you can just see it. Bing, 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 bing. The viewers can. You probably can't because there's a slight delay. But if I just bake bread with just that stone ground full, no bits thrown out, it's incredibly heavy. And I found that the best thing is to mix it with the white flour, something like 4-to-1 or something. How? I mean, if you've got whole wheat stone ground flour, would you use just that, or would you use just the strong white flour as well?
I would go for the whole wheat, but then I like quite an old-fashioned rustic loaf. We've got so used to soft, white, fluffy bread that people now call that normal bread. And no, that wasn't normal bread. Baker's yeast, as a dried baker's yeast, wasn't even invented, I think maybe the late 60s or the very early 70s. Dried yeast wasn't invented until then. You had to use live yeast. And people are so shocked nowadays when I talk about sourdough bread and wholemeal bread, and they sort of call it artisan, and you've got to pay £3.50 for it. No, that's normal bread. That's the way it's always been. It can be any shape, any size. Doesn't have to be in a fancy sort of, what do they call it, a buell shape. You can make rolls of it. You can slice it. It's just normal bread. I think as a sort of a society, we've got used to this soft, fluffy white bread with Hovis written on the side, and there's nothing wrong with that. I use it myself, but we do have to kind of try other things. I would go for the rustic bread, and if it's a bit heavier and a bit rougher, great. I mean, I don't always use high-protein bread flour. Sometimes I just use normal flour. It comes out pretty good. I make soda bread. That's quite sort of heavy and hard, but it's texture. I think it's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the key thing is getting... I know I'm harping on about this. It's only because it's something I've recently read about, but the nutrients and the minerals.
Yeah.
The all the stuff that's supposed to be in there helping you grow, develop, fight your immune system, fight off diseases and things. I mean, if only people were eating more sensibly, we probably wouldn't have a COVID situation.
Definitely. I mean, if you can stomach a more hearty bread, shall we say, I would go down that route because it's going to be doing you so much more good. I find that the perception, it is just a perception, but the perception I get with store-bought white bread products is that they're just carbohydrates and they're okay for keeping you going, but I think they're lacking the depth of nutrient. They're lacking the minerals and the vitamins and these unnameable scientific things that perhaps...
Mike Stevens says whole wheat sounds much better to me too.
Yeah, whole wheat, all the way. I mean, there is a time and a place for soft, white, fluffy bread. Don't get me wrong, and I do use it myself. I'm not above going to the shop and buying a packet of Kingsmill, Hovis, you name it. But I do like to know that I've at least got an old-fashioned proper loaf of bread, even if it's just in the freezer.
Right. Let me ask you. Here's a question. Here's a question. You often see that these fancy ones, the supermarkets sell that have got caraway seeds on them, or sesame seeds, or a little bit of oat thrown in. I mean, it seems like tokenism, really. It's just making it sound like, but they're still effectively a white loaf. They might be slightly brown.
Well, they call it seeded bread, don't they?
Seeded bread, yes, seeded bread. And
yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I'm all for using the seeds and stuff, but the basic flour that they're using, the quick processes that they're using, to me, bread should be a 24-hour process or more, because you're getting all those good bacteria from your starter. You're getting all those natural yeasts, not just one type of yeast. You're getting so many strains of yeast. And that adds so much depth of flavour. Your bread ends up with a slightly tangy, sour note that you just do not get with modern bread, unless you go and pay £3 upwards for a loaf of artisan bread, which honestly you can make just as easy as sort of what you've been making at home. You can make a sourdough bread just as easy, but it takes more time. So you go away and leave it for 8, 9, 10 hours. But it's the same process, and I don't need my bread. I stretch and fold my bread, which anyone can look up on YouTube, so I won't lecture you all about that. But it's the same kind of process.
Floating Our Boat says the best flour that they've had was from Outwood Windmill. The miller wasn't allowed to sell it because the EU didn't approve it, so we had to do swapsies. It made the best bread ever. Well, thank God we're out of the EU.
That really doesn't surprise me, and people are. It breaks my heart that people are missing out on this experience that I've grown up with when it comes to the most basic item, bread. And I really do encourage people to get past the whole texture, white, fluffy thing. That's not normal bread. We've been brainwashed to think that's normal bread.
Well, I just think we're brainwashed in so many areas, and we've just gone blinkered. And thank God for things like the internet now, because people can't like us. We can discuss this. We can use the power of the social media and discussing things, and actually learn in a much faster, quicker way and get different opinions. Whereas in the communities, perhaps 10, 15 years ago, before the internet came along, you're very much influenced by what the mainstream media were telling you to do, or the supermarkets, or the big conglomerates.
Yeah, do you know what? I think a lot more people are turning to this way of thinking, though.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, just 10 years ago, veganism was not anywhere near as popular as it is now. And no one thought veganism would take off, did they? I mean, I didn't, did you? I like the idea of it. I mean, I am vegan at heart. I'm not actually even vegetarian when it comes down to it. I do eat meat, but I've reduced the amount I eat of that, and I try to only buy the more, slightly more expensive stuff that you would hope has come from a slightly more humane and organic. And when I say organic, I don't just mean not using the pesticides and stuff like that. I mean
natural.
Yeah. Really natural. Yeah. I've lost my thread. Let me eat.
I mean,
natural by natural meats.
Yeah.
I mean, what stopped getting the vegans going earlier was the fact that they were so shouty and demanded that everyone.
Yeah, I mean that is the shame. But I mean, with any movement like that, you will get the percentage who will just get so aggressive with it. And I know they don't mean to be, but it's really bad for the
cause.
For the cause, yes, it is. I mean, I completely respect the cause and everything, but it just brings out all the meat eaters that say
and maybe
make all these horrible jokes.
Maybe there's a halfway to be had somewhere whereby you get. I'll get called a weirdo because I'll use the bits of the animal that 3/4 of people won't use. I'm not a vegan, But when it comes to what people call meat, you know, lumps of meat, mince meat, I hardly ever touch the stuff. But I'll use the kidneys, the liver, the hearts. You know, I'll eat.
I'll use the bones.
Yeah, I use the bones for stock. I can't remember the last time I bought an OXO cube, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I remember my mum using them and stuff, but I just, I couldn't go on a rant, but
no. I was going to say, I just to finish on this, I couldn't go down the vegan way personally, because having watched about mixed farming, how important the farm animals are to putting the minerals back into the land.
It's all part of the cycle.
It's all part of the cycle.
If the whole world went vegan tomorrow, what would happen to all these animals?
Well,
and some of them are very well looked after. A lot of them are not, which is very sad.
Unfortunately, more are not looked after than are.
But it's not just that. It's not just what would happen to the animals, and of course that is a very valid point. But what would happen to us? Because we would have no natural fertilizers. We would then rely completely on the chemical companies, the big corporate conglomerates, to give us our food. And without animals eating herbage, pooing out the nutrients and shoving it back in the soil so that the vegetables can grow with the minerals and nutrients that we can digest, we can't survive. We need the animals.
We also need the diversity as well, because the diversity of plants
exactly
that the cattle eat.
It's all part of the whole thing, and you know, whichever interest group comes along and says you've got to cut all of this out, that's just so wrong.
Well,
I would encourage as many people as possible to eat as much veg as possible. Doesn't mean you can't eat a little bit of meat. But, you know, veg is good for us. It's cheap. It's pretty plentiful. So I would go down the route of not sort of being a vegan, but eating more veg.
Absolutely. I mean, you
after
know,
a few days, you stop thinking about it, you know.
When you think that meat was a treat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Good to see all three of you. It's been good tonight. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Very interesting points there that Ed has made, especially about the flour. Oh, can take those headphones off. It's so nice, isn't it? Thank you very much, Ed, for that.
Just want to say that as humans, on the whole vegan thing, as humans, we are designed to eat meat.
Right.
It is in our genetic
not
makeup.
as much as we actually do in this current day and age.
No, I agree with that.
And I'm guessing not processed meat.
Not processed meat, no, raw meat.
Meat?
Well,
I suppose before we discovered fire.
Yeah, we used to eat poultry raw. It's only because the acids in our stomach have got so used to eating cooked chicken that we can no longer stomach raw chicken.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So,
that, and we discovered that cooking it meant that it was safer to eat anyway. And we adjusted over time.
Yeah.
Let's get some comments from the lovely Julia, who's monitoring.
Connor's Dark Corner is asking, is there a list for banned words, as innocent comments don't seem to be going through? There is actually a list of banned words, and if your comment is innocent, then it shouldn't be banned.
I can't remember what it is. It's something like 1,200 words that we found in a file that have been deemed as unsuitable, and some of them, such as bum, might be there, you know, but you might use that in bum, what a shame about such and such. So and stupid is a word.
But the trouble is that a lot of the trolls will use all of these words in various formats. So
some words,
it's safer for us to just ban these words.
As a result, and we did have a spate of some
we were dogged really badly.
Yeah, we were one time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all Mr. Suggett's fault. So but when we used these things, we found they just went away. So apologies for that. Any other
Kerry Baldwin says, with you there, Richard, on mixed farming, just need to eat less meat and better quality.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Michael Angel says, floating our boat, that's mad. What did floating our boat say?
Do you need me to scroll up? Hang on. Let's get in the scrolly.
Lovely to see you out there, by the way, Fran and Richard, who it is watching. Such an interesting programme tonight. Let's have a rebellion.
Yes. That's what we want.
Oh, by the way, I know you mentioned it a couple of shows ago, but I just watched the episode of Floating a Boat where they rescued the chicks.
Oh, yeah.
That would have so been me.
Oh.
Like, no, we've got to go do it. Sort it.
Fantastic.
I'm surprised you didn't take a camera, but kind of glad because, it meant you were focused on the rescue.
What else have we got up there?
We have...
Vegetarianism is heavily promoted by big food industry in the new big thing.
Unfortunately, yes, it's
turning into a
commercially
fad.
It is another
Nigel
bandwagon
Sadler
that.
It's starting to go away, though.
Yeah,
It is starting to go away. COVID has actually brought back the fact that veganism has gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
Oh, has it?
By the way,
Yeah.
I going back to something you said earlier, you said if we were all eating better and eating more healthily, that we would probably not have the COVID problem. I kind of disagree. I think we would still be having the COVID problem, but I think fewer people would have struggled with it or had any, been affected too badly with it. But
Be in a healthier state to fight
exactly,
it.
would have been in a better position to fight it off and survive it, basically.
And if we all ate healthier, the NHS wouldn't be in
Such
dire
dire straits in the first place.
as
Yeah,
well.
it's quite. And if we didn't get drunk every damn weekend and hurt
What
each
do you mean
other,
every weekend, every day?
yeah. Well, I say we. This is a royal we. I don't think any of us actually drink, do we? No.
No.
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally, once or twice a year. I think I find I do.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I'm crazy enough. I don't need the alcohol.
So, well, if anybody else wants to give us a call, we've got about 15 minutes left. That would be absolutely fantastic to hear from you. If you haven't called, if you're passionate about this subject, then it would be lovely to hear from you on today's special discussion. Also, if you like these special discussions and have a pet subject that you want us to sort of thrash out or think about, then do get in touch. But I am actually quite passionate about this myself. I do. Sad news is I've just been told that the house sale that I thought was imminent is now not imminent. Looks like we've got to put the house back on the market all over again.
Boo. Come on.
Well, I'm just angry. There's no word. First thing you said to me when you told me, I said, get it back on the market, get rid of it.
I know, yeah. I'm going to have to get it on the market. So I need that money to buy the land so I can start. I want to be sowing some stuff to just grass, not Italian, what is it? Italian ryegrass. Excuse me, none of that rubbish. I want all the lovely, wonderful stuff that you see in Andrew Norris's videos. Incidentally, Andrew Norris is putting together a package of wild grass and flowers seeds. And also, I hope to be in touch with Michael and
Joseph.
Michael Joseph and
Mary?
Jane, is it?
Yeah.
And to get some seeds. We have another phone call, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to pick up my what's name. Hello to the caller.
Yes. Good evening, sire.
Ah, Mark Donny McLeod. Haven't heard from you for a while. How are you?
Yeah, one has been busy.
Good
Hello,
man.
folks.
Hello.
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 Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This thing about food, right?
Oh, that thing about food.
This thing about food.
Oh.
That thing about food. Like
Do tell us. Have you got any?
Sorry? Yeah, I'm doing the right things.
Oh, good.
I must admit, over the last few weeks, I've been doing a bit of work helping out with companies that where staff has been furloughed.
Right.
Yeah. So the problem I noticed was a lot of these people who and now you've got this thing where there was not much food around.
Yeah.
And everyone was suffering, and they were saying, "Oh, there's not this, and there's not that," and there was plenty about.
Right.
And I noticed that it was only certain areas of the country that were having this thing because everyone was going on about, "Oh, there's no bread, and there's no flour, and there's this and the other."
So is that a distribution problem?
Shops, and it was there.
Right. So was it a distribution problem?
I think yes, and I think also you've got certain sections. Areas of the country where it's harder, or the amount of people you're serving is higher than others. So
right.
In our area, like Pendle area, you would have, say, I don't know, 200,000 people.
Right.
Maximum, if that.
Yeah.
But you go down the road into Manchester,
and it's
40 miles away, and you're talking, a couple of million or something, so it's all down to how much you can get into an area. And the thing about this was everybody was warned there's going to be a problem.
Well, because people were buying loo rolls, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's kind of like I kind of understand loo rolls. If you're a politician, you know, or something like that, you're going to need a lot of them, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, because so you know, I can understand that. You know, but your average Joe, I'm thinking like, well, how many times do you need to go to the loo in a day?
Well, I guess it must be the fear that there just wasn't going to be any in there. I mean, it shows you how people can either be very gullible or actually, at the end of the day, don't trust that their neighbours aren't going to. I mean, I think that's the problem, isn't it? That people were buying because they didn't know that their neighbours weren't going to buy it all, and then that they were going to be left out.
And they were stamping over each other to get that last one on the shelf.
And this is the thing now. If anybody had gone, I don't know if any of you three have been to the shops when this was going on.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the loo rolls that were vanishing weren't the £1 for 6, or you know £1.50 for 4, or those ones. No. It was the Shell and the fancy brands and the Hendrix. They were gone.
People couldn't bear to the thought of running out of their precious quilted paper.
That's it. And I was saying to somebody else who was out with me one time shopping, and I said, look, there you go. Middle class problem.
Well, yeah, no, I think you're...
Out. We bought these here. You're not going to wipe your bum with it and throw it down the loo.
But going back to the food then, you think it was a distribution problem for
I
that?
think there's 3 things.
Yeah.
There was a distribution problem.
Yeah.
There was a problem where a lot of businesses couldn't get ingredients in.
Right.
So what you got is you got a situation where we make so much of the products, and they would keep a certain amount of raw materials to make that food item in stock. But they obviously, in times of when you get this problem and demand increases because everyone thinks, oh my God, I'm going to be left without. So everyone then goes out and buys more than they need. And they buy more than they need, they put pressure on the service of these manufacturers. The manufacturers can't get what they need because now what they had in stock to cover themselves has gone. So they're waiting for new stock to come in, like you had the problem with bags for bread, with Morrison's, etc. It's all these things, and relying on countries for like monocultures.
Right.
And as we've said already before, if you've got monoculture situation, when this kind of crisis comes along, you don't have what it takes
yes.
to feed your people.
Yes, and I think that's the key message that you've got there, and that's what I was thinking when the lockdown came about. Where are the local farms? Where are the local suppliers who would just automatically be doing that? That would be part of their thing. We're all locked down. We couldn't go in. People have had to suddenly reinvent their businesses so they could deliver food, restaurants and all of those sort of things, so they could now deliver food. But what we want is our local producers giving us healthy products with the nutrients and minerals in. That was so lacking.
Oh, yeah. There's another thing. I don't know if Richard can fill me in on some sort of thing. I noticed once upon a time, when I used to have an allotment and that, and we used to have a table outside covered up, it's like on scaffolding and that, and you put this table outside, and if you had, like grown too many tomatoes or too many onions or leeks and stuff like that, you'd stick them in a box outside, put an honesty box there, and people that would pass would help themselves and pay
see
for
them, don't you, Richard?
Yeah, we have
Did you still get them?
Yeah, I've got one outside my house.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been doing it myself.
Right.
I wanted to be able to feed my street. So.
Yeah, there's a couple of people down my street that do that.
Sorry, Mark. We're just agreeing with you that that is
the way to
going
do it.
on. Yeah, and Richard does it with his allotment, and I'm sure other allotment holders do that. Do you think?
Yeah,
Richard?
I mean, we're not allowed to do it outside our allotment because it's seen as profiteering from our what we've
Now,
rented
that
off
was
the
the thing.
council.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
I do it outside my house, and it's just, I mean,
Right.
I actually don't make any money from it. I just say help yourself,
Yeah.
and it's only my
The
excess
council
stuff.
came along and put a notice on and said this must be removed.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Was it on the footpath, not on the property of the homeowner?
No, this was where the allotments are. There's
Yeah.
allotments right next to it. Is a ginnel, a little trackway, and
Yeah.
the other side of the there's dry stone wall. The other side of that is a farm, and at the bottom end there's another dry stone wall and a little ginnel, and behind that is a cemetery.
Right. So it
And
wasn't
it
in
was-
their own private land, in other words, but it was on somebody else's
It
land.
was-
I can
it was
understand.
in the ginnel, in the little. In
Yeah.
The little,
Presumably somebody owns that though.
Yeah, and it could be the council that
I
owns
think
it.
it's owned by the farmer.
Oh right. And so the farm is who said that he couldn't do it?
Well, it's the council. That
The
said
council,
no,
right?
not the farmer.
A
Because
difficult
we
situation.
were the first ones to ask him and the church, the parish, if it was them who had put this block on. And
Right.
they said, "Oh no, we got no problem with that." He said, "In fact, I buy a lot of stuff off your."
Yeah.
your
It's a
Yeah,
difficult
forgotten.
difficult situation. Well, thank you for that contribution, Mark. Very interesting, and I really think about this business about the locality of our farms. I think that's in times of crisis, as you said, where were they to when you need people to be fed, and again we had to rely on the big conglomerates, and they either sold out or the distribution
Well, to
wasn't
be honest,
there.
It's not really the farmer's problem, is it? Because they're not allowed to. I don't think a lot of them are allowed to choose what they grow. Now they're told
Exactly.
by the ministries, we only want you to grow this, or we only want you to grow that. And if you grow something that they don't like,
Yeah.
you don't get covered.
Yeah,
there's
they're
a
caught between a
problem.
rock and a hard place, really, aren't they?
And a lot of
And
EU
really,
stuff has blighted them as well, I think.
To grow what they want.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark. Lovely to talk to you.
Right.
Thanks for calling in. Good to hear
Cheers,
from
Mark.
You look
Good
after
night,
yourself.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. There we go. Mark Donny McLeod there. And we're coming very close to the end of the show. We'll just grab some more comments. I know Sean said something about a micro house or something.
Yes,
Oh,
I was
yes.
going to say you already live in a tiny house.
I do live in a tiny house. I don't want any tiny. I don't know what they
He
mean.
said, would you also sell your house and combine all the money to buy the land? Maybe build a tiny house and live in that?
The one thing I wouldn't do is sell this house at the moment, because it would be the security that if everything went belly up, I've still got this. I would rather spend the money, if you can buy a couple of acres for about, I don't know what, 20, 30, 40 grand, depending on where it is, you've then got you've got the same amount of money to invest in that. Over perhaps 5 years, you might spend another 50 grand getting the soil together and planting and failing and planting and failing and all of that is how I would imagine. I don't know why I've got the headphones on.
I was trying to
was
hint
also
you.
trying to tell
I was
here.
trying to hint you.
Yeah. I would also say I don't think your book collection would fit in a tiny house.
No, that's
You'd have to pay for a storage unit, wouldn't you, for that?
I would
Yeah.
definitely. So there we go. Any more comments that
Yes,
worth looking at?
there was one. Mike Dixon said, every January I make my own marmalade. It tastes delicious and is
Oh,
very
yes.
healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Graham Cass says, lemon curd made traditionally is heaven. I can understand that.
yeah, I mean, I make a lot of my own jams and preserves. Not the healthiest thing because of the amount of sugar that goes into them, but I tell you
like
what,
sugar.
they do taste so much better than the stuff
Yeah.
However, you can go buy a tub of strawberry jam for something like 19p. You cannot produce it for that price. The jam jar alone costs
Yes.
more.
Yes. So how do they?
I have no idea.
It gets you in the store, doesn't it? It's a lost
Yeah,
leader.
it
I
must
guess
be.
That's how that must work. Well, that's interesting. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed the debate tonight. We'll do more of these, as I said. It's been fascinating. I hope the mixing has worked. Thank you to all the contributors who have donated, by the way, to help me get the ATEM Mini Pro this wonderful gadget, which I can't lift up and I can't put a camera on at the moment, but I'll put a picture on it later on. Thank you so much. That was been really, really kind, because I think the progression of this type of format, having people like Richard in and the lovely Julia in, and of course your wonderful selves out there contributing through the phone lines, is just a brilliant way to take a subject and thrash it around. And it'd be great to have new voices calling in and new guests, I think, on the show.
Yeah.
Would be lovely. Have you enjoyed this experience, Julia?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. It's been fun. It's been cool talking about something that interests all three of us. I find it quite interesting. It's only taken 2 years of me drip feeding you all these ideas.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't have a degree in all the words to express all these, the way I feel about the way we use this planet. But yeah, one book you've read and now you're like, oh,
yeah,
wait.
but it's the book that may have been the catalyst.
Yes, exactly.
That what you and people like Richard and others have said to me.
Yes. We've put all the little paving stones in place, and the book has just, been the row of lights lighting the way.
The big question is, I'm desperate to get going, and obviously there's lots more to learn, and I have learnt through life you mustn't rush into things, because that's where you make all the mistakes. And
only fools rush in, don't they say?
Yeah, where devils fear to tread.
If you're desperate to get going, I've got an idea that I'm going to float out then.
Okay.
I might have a spare space on my allotment that you can start using.
I've been trying to get him to use mine.
Yeah.
My poor patch is my poor veg patch is neglected. Except for a little bit of me trying to take care of it, and you coming along and blitzing.
Yes.
And putting me to shame.
Well, I think I probably got another 6 months now before we can get this sodding house sold, if it's going back on the market, which is another 6 months of council tax, which is costing enormous amounts of money. It's like £200 and something a month. I mean, I always pay my own council tax.
I was going to say that's ridiculous, because you're not using the services.
I'm not using the house.
You're not using the bins. You're not using the. Anyway, shitting.
No, but now I'm beginning to think I could dig up my father's whole garden and start planting in there.
Yeah.
And but of course I've got my sister to deal with. She wants the house. She wants the money. We both want the money. We both need the money. I've got holes in the roof. It's not going to just be like, a spending spree. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the last question I want to ask Richard is, have you enjoyed the technical experience of this, being somebody who does his own live shows?
I'm actually quite impressed with this bit of kit we've got, and because obviously I use a camera like you do, proper camera, not a webcam. I'm loving using the different cameras and different links. And my future plan with my live show is to take it outside.
Yes.
I'm going to, over the winter, build a shed.
That would be great.
With 3 cameras, and that, I think, would just
top it off.
So
yeah,
once I'm back at work, that's on my list.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to my wonderful guests. We will do more of this in the future. Until next time, thank you so much. I can't play the theme. I don't know how to do that. So I might be able to. I'm going to give it a go. Otherwise, we'll just fade to black. I know how to do that.
If not, we'll sing it.
Yes, if not. You know the words?
We'll do it loud style.
No, that's wrong.
No, that's the wrong one.
Dum, 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 dum.
Oh,
I tried at least.
It was in my head till you did that one.
It's in my head and I can't
we
get
need
it
to
out.
get Ed Loud to ring in and sing it to us. That's what we need to do.
Come on, Ed.
Oh dear. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Look after yourselves. Have a fantastic evening, and I'll be back with a video that's a bit more about this actually to share with you, and then more walks and all the rest of it. So yeah, tutty bye. Thank you very much.
TTFN. Ciao for now.
It's been good fun. Right now, hang on. I probably need to do. Oh, where is the opening? Do I do this? Oh no, yeah, I can do that one. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, we have a caller.
Is this Ed?
I bet this is Ed Loud. Gonna sing us the song. Hang on.
Is that Ed Loud?
Hello.
It's Ed Loud.
Yes.
Go on then. How does it go?
I can't remember now. You've put me on the spot.
Put you on the spot. You phoned in.
Yeah, we thought you phoned in.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Ta-ta.
Bye.
Oh, that was great. Okay, I think if I press this button, it will happen.